Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that? This was a fantastic read. This book right here is a fantastic, awesome read. Coming from a horror fan, and in the quotes of a great man, this is not a banger. And I know bangers. And I know bangers. And coming from a guy that knows bangers, this is a banger. This book had dark, disturbing content. It had fantastic imagery, an awesome setting for horror towards the climax. It had intense action scenes. It had fleshed out character development. It had a unique premise for a story. It was batshit fucking insane. No pun intended, considering the name of the book and the fact that there are bats in the book. The climax was action-packed. It had some creepy and dope gimmicks throughout the story. It made me laugh. It made me cringe in a good way. It made me genuinely scared. It had intense moments. It had gross moments. It had, ooh-wee, this is wild, boy, moments. This book is a wild roller coaster ride of a book in a great way. And that matches that there's also an amusement park in this book. And I love amusement parks. This is a wild roller coaster, a bunch of fun. So just before we get into this review, all of you should read this book. Okay, it's 700 pages. Yeah! You're sitting there looking at me like, yeah! You said 7 with 2 zeros. Yeah! It's long. It's long. I'm not gonna lie to you. The shit is long as fuck. This is the longest book I've ever read. But oh my God, it was awesome, man. It was awesome. Bro, this is like getting into a 30-minute to an hour and a half, you know what I'm saying, session with a chick cosplaying Thorn from the Hex Girls from Scooby-Doo. It's like it's finna get freaky. It's finna get wild. You get that little bit of shimmy in you. You get that little bit of ooh, wild, you know what I'm saying? We like roses, but roses come with thorns. Cult thorns too, if we talk about Halloween. It's a little bit spicy, but you like that spice, that gingerbread spice. No pun intended, considering that is something in this book. Listen, man, what I'm saying is it's a wild ride. And for this review, we are introducing a new award that we are giving to fantastic adult horror books. I cannot give this award in kids horror because it's not that family friendly. But fuck that, because we talking about adult horror. And adult horror is no fucking filter. We ain't got no filter. I got the all-white jean jacket. We got no filter. Cocania white. No filter. This book is getting the certified banger award, which is you gotta carry a Magnum award. That's right. This book is getting the you gotta carry a Magnum award. You need this. Safe sex is great sex. Better wear a latex so you don't get that late text that you know I'm late text. You gotta carry a Magnum. This is what it is, bro. Certified banger. Be protected. Have fun. Flex. This is a certified banger. This book is none other than, by the title, if you couldn't guess, NOS4A2 by Joel. That's right, NOS4A2, a license plate to a Rolls Royce, tongue twister, Rolls Royce Wraith 1938 model. What is this book about? Well, first of all, this book is written by Joe Hill. Joe Hill, for those of you who may not know for some reason, is the son of Stephen King. This is his pen name. This is what he goes by. And of course, he writes books, and he is a very talented author. I've read his short story collection, Full Throttle. It had some fantastic stories in there like Dark Carousel and Fawn, which I enjoyed quite a bit. And he's just overall a good writer from that. And then I read this book, and I'm like, holy shit. This guy's fucking talented. And I'm reading this book and I'm like, God damn. Joe Hill wrote this book. It was published in 2013. And this does feel like a Stephen King idea. However, it cuts out that notorious Stephen King gimmick, which is he does word dumps. He does useless word dumps. So much unnecessary detail that makes you go, yo, when is this guy gonna finish, bro? I aged about 50 years. I'm about to look like NOS4A2 by the time I'm done with this book. This book does not have that. Cuts out that useless word filler, and all you get is pure action and pure story. So what is the story about? NOS4A2 basically takes place in a world in the United States which follows groups of people. Now, this is an established concept, so not really spoilers, it's just established, and you have to know this for the story. In this world of the book, there are groups of people who have access to travel to parallel worlds and have supernatural powers. Kind of like a sixth sense thing, but again, they have supernatural powers. They have access to parallel worlds. And these two factors are birthed from their thoughts. These individuals' thoughts can become physical things. They can metaphysical, manifest, whatever you want to call it. Are they fully real? No, it's like a parallel reality thing existing within our world. Normal people can't really sense it, can't really grasp it, but to these people, it's a part of their imagination, their thought process, and it's very much real to them. Following a sort of metaphorical theme, which is that when we experience life, there is the real world, the tangible real world, and then there's how we perceive the world through our thoughts, our imagination, and our ideas. Two separate worlds. But in this world, this, book universe, they converge. And you get people who have access to parallel realms and can gain supernatural powers such as teleportation, reading the future, maybe altering time, whatever, whatever, X-Men type of powers, but they get it through their thoughts, and their thoughts manifesting into real things and mediums to make these powers come to life. And you deal with this little girl named Vic. Vic is the main character. She's also nicknamed the Brat by her father, and you can tell that her parents are a little bit negligent. The story starts off, however, not with her, but I do want to give a little bit of history. Vic the Brat is this basically little girl who has a wild imagination, and she rides around on a Rayleigh bicycle that her father bought for her. And her father is abusive, he's a drunk, he's negligent, but he loves her a lot, and she can tell that. And her mother is very kind of pestilent, bugs him, kind of gets on his nerves. And then when she's young, she very much resonates with her father and dislikes her mother, and it carries on to teenage years. However, when she's a kid and she's riding on this bike, she finds out quickly that she is one of these gifted people in the world. And her power is that there is this bridge, this rinky-dink bridge out in the woods called the Shorter Way Bridge. It's this bridge across this wide river with flowing rapids underneath, and it's this wooden bridge. It has wooden planks. It's very worn down. Looks like those planks are going to break at any point. You have the ceiling of this tunnel and bridge, which the rafters have hundreds of bats just nesting up there, so the place smells like bat guano, bat piss, kind of musty, and it's covered in moss, and it looks overgrown. And what ends up happening is that anytime she's on this Rayleigh bicycle, she finds out that she's able to teleport and travel long distances within a fraction of time by manifesting the shorter way bridge while she's riding on her bike. So as she's riding on her bike, she can manifest this shorter way bridge right across it, and she could go from, let's say, Sacramento, California, all the way to Miami, Florida, just by traveling across that bridge, which only takes a matter of 30-20 seconds, and she's all of a sudden in a completely different part of the world, part of the United States. She's able to teleport that way. So that's her gift. And she uses this gift throughout her childhood, retrieves different objects and stuff, and finds out different things. This is her, basically the main character's perspective. And in the beginning of the book, you don't get introduced to her backstory right away. This book is sort of all over the place, but at the same time, it's not, because everything flows and fits in the right place like the pieces of a puzzle. The book doesn't start off with her childhood. That's right after the very beginning prologue. And the prologue deals with basically this supermax prison at a psychiatric ward in the medical center. And a nurse is carrying a bag of blood over to these group of patients. You get a synopsis of the different patients there. People who've killed their family members, burned down places, committed arsenic, all these different types of things. And as the nurse is going to this supermax prison ward over at the medical center, she heads into the room of this guy named Charles Talent Manx. Charles Talent Manx. And he's basically this super old, decrepit, skeleton-looking guy. No one really knows how old he is. They estimate that he's 90 years old, but he looks closer to like 30 years above that, so 120. Super, super old, decrepit, skeleton-looking dude. Bald. He's got this disgusting overbite with jagged teeth protruding up, dirty teeth. He just looks like a mummified skeleton. And he's basically a prolific serial killer, a John Wayne Gacy type of individual. He's kidnapped several dozen children, potentially done horrific things to them, killed them, again, very much like a John Wayne Gacy. And as this nurse is carrying over this bag of blood, he's been in a coma for a long time, for months on end. He's been in a coma for a long time, and he's not dead, but they don't know when he's going to wake up from the coma. And all of a sudden, as she carries over this bag of blood, he all of a sudden reaches out and grabs her wrist super tight and basically threatens her with this unknown threat to us, which is that I'm going to find Vic McQueen and I'm going to take her son to Christmas Land, where he's going to go to the House of Sleep, meet the gas mask man, and all these crazy threats and accusations that make no logical sense. Sounds like something out of a Looney World. And after that scene, you get introduced into the life of Vic McQueen, the guy that he's threatening to find. You go through her childhood, you go through her teenage years where you find out she was rebellious. Her father was, cheating with the younger people. The mom and dad separated, and she very much felt like an outcast, this very sort of outcast kind of person. And throughout her childhood, riding on the Rayleigh, traveling across different places, she found lost and found items. However, it came with a cost. The more and more she teleported as a kid, her left eye started throbbing and hurting, and she realized that there was a cost to this. This teleportation, it takes a piece of her, slowly hurts her, and kind of drives her more and more crazy, causes migraines in her brain as a result. And she, at one point as a kid, met this other person. She wanted to look for answers. The bridge kind of takes her to where she needs to go based off her thoughts, and it took her to a place called Here, Here, Iowa, and she met this librarian. This librarian had similar powers. She is a gifted one as well. However, her power is that she has this bag of basically Scrabble tiles, and it looks like an ordinary bag, but as she reaches in, she can stick her whole arm down there, and it sounds like hundreds of bags or hundreds of tiles are inside of this bag. So it's like an infinite space bag, and she can predict the future. It's like fortune telling. She can do real fortune telling with these Scrabble tiles. They'll form random words and give her answers, not direct answers to stuff, but indirect answers that can kind of help her pinpoint future events. And that's when you find out that Vic McQueen, this little girl, the main character, is struggling. She doesn't know if this is all a part of her rampant kid imagination when she becomes a teenager. She struggles with her identity, struggles with kind of like schizophrenia and stuff like that. And eventually, as the story progresses, you find out that this supernatural killer named Charles Talent Manx may be coming back for some revenge due to something that happened involving her childhood, her running into some situation with him, causing some problems, some interference, and now he wants to get payback for the damage that she caused him. Unintentionally or intentionally, you find out all this stuff as the story goes on. So that's what I'm going to give without spoiling too much, but yeah. And, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Charles Talent Manx, I said supernatural because he is in fact also an individual with his own thought-based powers. However, he's able to open a parallel world. And this parallel world is allegedly where he claimed to take all of these kids and victims that he killed and did horrible things to as a form of salvation for them, to rid them of their troubles on earth, troubles with their parents, and take these troubled kids and bring them true happiness in a place called Christmas Land. Oh boy, when you find out about Christmas Land, it's wild. But, again, that's where I'll leave off the story. So what are the biggest strengths to this book? There are a lot of strengths involving this book. First of all, you get fantastic character development. I love pretty much every character in this book. I think they all serve a role, and all the characters that get fleshed out I resonate with. You have, of course, Vic McQueen. Vic McQueen is the main character, and I loved her. I love the struggles she deals with. I love how real she feels in terms of what she's going through. She's very much troubled, very much deals with mental, emotional, and physical health problems. But you see that she's very persistent. She's very tough. She's a tough son of a bitch. And she finds her way to getting through problems. You see her develop. She goes from this very imaginative kid who's questioning life to this delinquent teenager to this adult who is now finding out that she has to do more with their life. She has to take responsibility. She has to not play the victim all the time. She has to sometimes be the one in power, the one that's saving people, the one that's helping people. And you go through this journey with her, and she's great. You just resonate with her. You like her. You want to see her succeed. You want to see her grow, and you see her journey throughout the book. You have her partner, I think his name is Lou Carmody. Lou is an interesting guy. He's funny. He's charismatic. You also resonate with him. He's like the backbone to Vic McQueen, a support system. He helped her out in a time of need. You find out during a very explicit scene during her teenage years. And, you know, he's there as a backbone. He's there as support. And you just like him as a guy. You know, he's a comic book guy. He likes going to conventions, but he also works on motorcycles. And he's a very sort of soft-spoken, innocent guy, but you can tell he's got a heart of fire, and he's willing to help out his loved ones, his child, and he'll help out others in time of need. You have the parents of Vic McQueen, who played a big part into why she became the way she was. They're fleshed out well. You really resonate with the dad. You're going to love the dad. You're going to sort of be disappointed in the dad and some of the things that he does, but that's meant to be that way. But you still love him and the core of who he is. You find out the mother, as dysfunctional and as hard-headed as she was looking out for the best of people, and she helps out till the end of the story. And again, all these different characters play a factor into it. You also have fantastic action scenes. During the climax of this book, you get some fantastic, vehicle riding scenes, some action, some fighting off people. You have Vic McQueen escaping death-defying, tongue twisters, man. I'm not good with them. I'm good with other things with my tongue, though, according to Felicia. Not good with tongue twisters, though. So yeah, she defies these death-defying situations. They're very intense, very well described by Joe Hill, very sort of dark, disturbing, and you resonate with her. She goes through all this action. She's a badass. There's other characters who step up to the plate and become badasses. And again, you just root for Vic McQueen the whole time, and she goes through all these tough situations involving this insane fucking story. You also have a lot of dark and disturbing content, which threw me off. There is a villain in this story. Well, there's two big villains. So there's obviously Charles Talent Manx. I'm going to call him Charles Manx for this story. And Charles Manx You may initially think that this is a vampire story and he's meant to be Nosferatu according to the license plate and the story of this book in a way, but it's more so done in a very unique fashion. Again, dealing with these supernatural powers and stuff. He may or may not have ties to the title of the book, but it's more so Joe Hill is paying homage to that in a certain unique way. And even inside of the book's canon, even Charles himself is paying homage to it, unsurprisingly, which is very cool. The fact that Joe Hill in real life is paying homage through his writing and through his description of the character, and then inside the book, the character is also paying homage in his own way. So I like that double parallel between them. Charles Manx is super intimidating. He's super creepy. The way to describe Charles to me is appearance wise and the way that he's intimidating and very sort of creepy and scary. It is very much like Nosferatu, and it is kind of like, if you've ever watched Haunting Hour, Fear from Fear Never Knocks. And funny enough, Nosferatu from Are You Afraid of the Dark, Midnight Madness, and Fear from Fear Never Knocks from Haunting Hour is played by the same guy, which is, I think, Hayden Christenkoff Hayden, or something like that. The guy plays Nosferatu and something like that. I forgot his name. Apologies, but you know the guy I'm talking about. And he's the very description of Charles Manx. He's who I envision throughout this entire story. He fits description. And again, a very tall, lanky guy, old, looks like a mummified corpse. He may have to deal with aging at a certain point. He's got these disgusting crooked teeth that look like fangs. And he's super intimidating because, again, he's a supernatural villain, a supernatural killer. Again, his thoughts can create this parallel world. And he rides around in a Rolls-Royce Wraith, a 1940 model, very old, built on a tank frame, all black, looks sinister, looks like a death carriage, and it has Nosferatu on the back license plate. And this vehicle may or may not be tied to his supernatural powers. And let's just say it can manipulate and act on its own, potentially. Potentially, it can act on its own, act like a killer vehicle. Again, this is paying homage to Stephen King, obviously Joe Hill's father, writing killer vehicle stories. So you have this super sinister, super creepy villain who's intimidating, manipulative, kind of like a boogeyman figure, very sort of, classy. He wears this all black jacket that looks very elegant. It has like double brass buttons going up, so he kind of looks like a military general. All black boots with a black cap. Looks very intimate, very sort of classy and elegant, but at the same time his appearance looks like Nosferatu, this disgusting mummified corpse with vicious fangs, and he looks like the image of the Grim Reaper in front of you. And the fact that he rides around in this classy Rolls-Royce Wraith, it can, act autonomously like a killer vehicle, makes it interesting. And then you have Christmas Land. Christmas Land is his parallel world that I mentioned that he creates. He creates this parallel world and takes his victims there. Yo, Christmas Land, when you hear descriptions of it, it is so fucking dope and so awesome, man. It is such a fantastic horror setting. When you read about it, it'll put a smile on your face. You have descriptions of it being this sort of amusement park that's all Christmas themed, but it's sinister, it's twisted. You basically drive down in the dark on this pure straight road, and you have, it's all completely covered in snow, and it's described as the snow will wisp around, in these streams of wind and look like ghosts. It'll look like snow ghosts that are moving around on the sides of the vehicle. You'll have snowmen and snow families that'll move and look at you and wave, and as they're going past, you'll have snowmen, snow women, snow dogs, and then there's a description of a snow kid with a hatchet and decapitated snow people heads all around it, and it's moving and greeting you and looking at you. Very terrifying. You have these mountains which are all like the size of Mount Everest, reach up into the sky, covered in snow peaks. You have this moon, this crescent blue moon, with the face and a mouth that's snoring and moving, and it can talk, it can animated, and it can be very intimidating and very creepy. I'm the type of guy that goes outside, I look at the night sky, it's very relaxing and stuff. This moon, imagining that is insane. And I actually have an anime that I love called Soul Eater. It's on Netflix. You guys can check it out or look it up. Soul Eater is one of my favorite animes that I've ever watched. Super funny, super dope. And in that one, they have a crescent moon with the face, crooked nose, and teeth, and it looks crazy. That's what I imagined when I was reading Joe Hill's NOS4A2 with the moon. It reminded me of the moon from Soul Eater from the anime. So I thought that was super dope. And when they get to Christmas land, candy cane gates, 9-foot tall nutcrackers. There's a bunch of stuff in there. I don't want to give too much away, but let's just say, you can walk past potentially chocolate shops, and there will be chocolate kids carrying hatchets covered in blood with chocolate people's heads all over. You have these terrifying monsters, which are described as having mouths that have rows of little hook bone teeth. Like, imagine these like fishing hooks going across your mouth, but they're all little hook bone teeth, and there's rows of them going all the way down through these beings' mouths down to their throats. So when they open their mouth, it looks like you're looking into the mouth of a sea lamprey. Terrifying. They have black veins over their pale bodies. They're cold to the touch. When they touch you, you will get burned and damaged with frostbite. They have like claws. They have, emotionless faces. They look like dolls. They look like Russian dolls. And yeah, they're terrifying, and they're immune to pain. These beings are terrifying, and they also are designed in a very innocent way to make you sort of let your guard down. And when you hear about these beings, they will freak you out. You have this giant Christmas tree that's like hundreds of feet tall. You have these roller coasters. You have this reindeer carousel. Oh yeah, and the tree may or may not be decorated with some terrifying ornaments that may or may not be decapitated heads. And let's say there might be children walking around the tree, and the children have weapons and sickles and stuff, and wearing necklaces of severed thumbs and fingers. Terrifying, y'all. Creepy. And that's just scratching the surface. There's a lot more cool stuff in Christmas Land. It's very action-packed, very cool. You get this great climax there. Hearing about all this stuff is wild. There's a lot to the story that I'm leaving out just because there's a lot to this story. It's a very insane one. You also have another villain that leads to some almost cringeworthy, again, not in an inherently bad way, but a like, oof type of way. Stuff involving horrific things that he does to people and victims. And it's basically a man called the Gas Mask Man that's tied to Christmas Land in a way. Gas Mask Man has some very disturbing sexual related crimes and some very disturbing torture stuff that, they may or may not do to victims. Very crazy to hear about what they do to people. The personality of this man is very much like, if you've seen Batman, the new Batman movie, The Riddler. It's kind of like the Riddler, but much more sinister, much more darker, much more crazy. That sort of thing. An Arkham Asylum kind of Riddler. That's sort of what they are in a way. Actually very similar to that in a way. But this was written much, much earlier than the new Batman. So if anything, maybe this might have been an inspiration. For all you know, even with the gas mask, makes you think. And yeah, this book, a lot of action, a lot of dark stuff, a lot of awesome stuff. This book for me gets a 9.7 out of 10, which means it's in the S tier. It's an A tier book. A plus tier book, so it's in my S tier inherently. And yeah, I absolutely loved it. I don't want to go too much into it because it's a very long book, and I don't want to go over the whole plot, but I think I covered all the great stuff about it. And yeah, the only real, not a complaint, but a minor thing I have, I did feel the ending was a little bit disappointing with something that happens to a certain character, but at the same time, it did feel kind of wholesome and kind of fulfilling in a way, so it wasn't a deal breaker, but that is a little minor thing, so I didn't give it a perfect score because of that. But this book gets a 9.7 out of 10, which is an A plus, an S tier score, and it's a fantastic read. Again, gotta carry a Magnum. You get the Certified Banger Award. Fantastic book. Please go check it out. Please enjoy the read. Is it long? Of course, but I think it's a fantastic roller coaster of a ride for you to go through, and it feels like a Stephen King story, but again, it cuts out all that useless description, and there's not a single part of this book that left me feeling bored. Every single part had me interested. Of course, some parts had me more interested, but throughout the entire book, I was engaged, interested, and I was flying through it, despite it being so long. So yeah, 9.7 out of 10, fantastic. If you like this review, my first adult horror book that's not a short story thing, hit that subscribe button down below. It's a free way to support me, and hit that like button as well. If not, I'm sending you to Christmas land. No lie there, bruh. No condom needed either. Don't make me send you to the gas, man. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Jokes. But yeah, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Stay tuned for more content to come. I will drop more content whenever I can. Of course, I'm busy right now, but I'm going to try to keep up with it. Obviously, keep track of the new Goose Junkies episodes that come out. I'll be keeping up with that as well. And yeah, that's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. And deuces. Don't. Stranger danger. Don't pull up in anybody's Rolls Royce race tongue-twisting ass vehicles at any point, even if it looked like the goddamn Mystery Machine. I don't give a fuck. Don't hop in that bitch, all right? Stranger danger. It's not safe, okay? And don't go to with the man that says take you to Christmas land. Do not go there, okay? Unless it's the bill collector, or unless it's Ezekiel, or it's Felicia, or the guy she cheated on me with from the circus. Now, if those guys appear in front of a Rolls Royce Wraith, kids, what I want you to do, put your leg up like this, all right? Do it with me now, and just kick them into that door. Wait for that loud ass lock to latch, and say bye-bye. See you in Christmas land, and wave them off, bro. I didn't tell you to do that, but just jokes, y'all. Just jokes. It's not jokes. I'm being for real. Have a holly jolly Christmas.